History has defined it over time that the current state of any economy is a true reflection of the past and present governments of that country. It is also certain, and now in Nigeria, as we have discovered, that every decision of a government determines the pace and the direction that the economy will take. Welcome to CEM Discuss. My name is Robert Ipoga. I am here with Sijuade Balogun.
My pleasure.
He is the senior consultant of Pirates Consulting. Nigeria is facing another election again.
Yeah,
To
just
ele-
few days.
to elect a new leader, to elect new government that will steer our economy in the next 4 years at least. Of course, you know what happens in Nigeria. That any government that comes in will want to take another tenure. Where are we, and where do you think this election is taking Nigeria in while we are determining the next government to take over this country?
First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. And to your question, I must be sincere that the next 30 days, which is all through February, we would have done our presidential election in the next 30 days. We would be doing our gubernatorial election about 30 something days from now. That puts us at a platform whereby we decide if we want to go forward or want to continue at this pace. That is where we are currently. You know, when we talk about governance, a lot of people think it is something different from economy. But the economy of every nation is at the mercy of the government. Why? We need to go back and ask ourselves a simple question. What is the job of the government? It's not rocket science. Their job is to make policies and ensure the enforcement of policies. What drives every economy is the available and how favorable the policies are in that nation. That's why you find some companies tell you that the economic policies are not favorable. We are moving out of this country. So the question we ask is, the policies we have so far created by the government, people in government from time memorial in this nation, how favorable have they been to the growth of our economy? How favorable will their policy be at short term, at long term? What drives every economy globally is actually the small and medium scale enterprise. The policies we have, what effect is it having on the SMEs, on the MSMEs? What is the effect of it? And those effects is what we see trickle down into the development of the nation, that reach the woman that does not understand English, the woman selling pepper, the woman that is there on the street, the hawkers are there on the street selling fast-moving, consuming goods for us to consume. They might not understand the X and Z and Y in economics, but they understand that this economy, if I sell one, I make two. If I sell this, I make two. And they actually make the money move. And if the policies are not favorable to them, of course, you would know that it will have an effect on us. So yes, the government coming in is sacrosanct in us moving forward in terms of economy. And that's why where we are, we must make a decision beyond persons, beyond party. We have to start making decisions that is looking and checkmating policies that will affect our economy.
Yeah, I know I'm talking with an SME expert. I know you have done a lot of jobs in SME, small scale businesses, the artisans, groups, and other societies in different organizations. Now, let us go specific. The decision to build Nigeria refineries was taken by a government. Now, this decision to leave those refineries to rot was also taken by a government. Now, it is a clear definition that decisions of government affect the economy. Let us go a little bit elaborate. To what extent has those decisions affect our economy?
To a great extent, and the extent is very visible. It's visible because now you cannot predict how much you spend monthly again. It's visible because now everybody everywhere now knows that we are at the mercy of what we wake up to meet tomorrow, not at the mercy of proper planning. How do you teach an Afro Nigeria for proper planning? Let's be realistic. So I can tell myself that my budget for this year, for this month, as an adult for myself and family is this, but how realistic it is by policies made in Nigeria. Because what I budgeted for is just a matter of seconds. We wake up tomorrow and it's changed. How? Let me give you a practical example. And you must understand at this point that policy makers are beyond the, they are stakeholders in policy making, they are stakeholders in policy execution. There's the part of the government and there's the part of we, the citizen. There's a part, in fact, in reality, what we see in government is a reflection of the kind of people we are as Nigeria, predominantly. Because we elect people from among us to become government officials, and they will continue. So when you have a nation that does not have strong value system, you will have people in government without a sense of value. And when you have people without a sense of value, they cannot actually articulate and execute their role and their essence of being in government. And that's what we see. Because currently now in Nigeria, it's affecting us because you can't make a plan and stick to your plan. I remember I once discussed with people that are into SMEs doing so well at a particular time, and the dollar, when the dollar rampage started going up, they were into printing. They have people, they have contracted their services that let me make print for you, let me do digital work for you. They've negotiated based on the price and it was fair. There was a day during that period I had access of information to what was happening in that sector. Every day the paper price increased and the major raw material for printing posters, flyers, anything was paper. Is paper rather. And these people, in fact, I have a very funny scenario of a friend. He made a quotation and said that the amount is this, XYZ, put it at 30,000. By the time the person that gave the job was ready for the job, a week after, he got to the place to get paper. Paper alone was costing 32,000. Without other print process he will go through. He had to call the person and say, look, I'm sorry, I don't want to disappoint you. This is the current price. If you don't pay now, the price go up tomorrow. I might not be able to do anything. So the press customer said, no problem, I'll pay the difference. I'll send you the 12,000. The person paid actually that day. And what happened? Nigerian bank happened. You know, when you pay today, the money didn't get to the place it's going till tomorrow. They tell you network issue and the rest. So the person left the marketplace that day because Nigeria issue had happened. He didn't get the difference. By the following day, these are true stories and real stories that happened to us. So by the following day, he saw the money later evening the following day. So he couldn't go to the market one day extra. 3 days extra when he got to the market, the paper alone has increased again to the sum covering beyond what was sent. The person was perplexed and I told the person, there's no big deal. Just call the person and say, let me send your money back. Because now, he's losing a customer's trust because policies were made. It wasn't the policy of individual. It was the policy of government that affected the economy, led to increase in dollar. Human factor, citizen factor came in. The side of the government was they made a policy, the policy had an effect, and it led into dollar going up. The citizen aspect, where it comes to value, came in. I have in stock this amount. I know if I sell at the hold rate, I won't have enough money to reorder. So they moved it to the new rate. And they were so quick at it that it was spontaneous. Now, my friend could not buy what he needs to buy to satisfy his customer. By extension, what it means to economic development is that man will not go home with money that day. And he's got a wife and he's got children to feed. You see how policies affect us. You see how policies and our value system will always shape our economy. And this is the reality we are faced with. So yes, the truth is, the state we are currently, the policies will continue to affect us until we change our approach. And the approach we're changing is, number one, who handles our policy making? And that's why the elections come in. That's why everything comes in. Number two, how did we question those?
Yes, the state of their jobs. Now, what will you say while we are approaching elections? What will you say to intellectuals and professionals who should be involved and give the government a sense of the need for accountability?
Well, I would say that I'm happy 2023 election is coming up this week. Reasons is this, that before now, what our campaigning focus used to be is different. What our campaigning strategies used to be is looking a little different because there are more newbies coming in and questioning the status quo. That's a good thing. You know, what has added up in the last couple of years till now has bring to limelight the real importance of citizenry in politics. And the youth are beginning to ask questions. You know, professionals, like you say, are beginning to ask questions. But as much as all of that is coming up, I would advise, I think it's a time we should take it a step further if we want results that are favorable. How do I mean? I'll give you a practical example. In 2011 precisely, it was the administration of Goodluck Jonathan. And Goodluck Jonathan came openly and said that, look, we're spending, that is the summary of what the government said, we're spending 1.4 trillion on subsidy. We can't cope with this and infrastructural development. We need economy to grow, and for it to grow, we need to put infrastructural development in place. You citizen, you would have to start paying for your fuel yourself, and we will use that 1.4 trillion for subsidy. The same professionals, the same citizens came out and said, that's rubbish. We don't want that. And what Jonathan administration did was to tell us that we will pay from 69 naira was the cost then, we'll start paying 96 naira for a start until all the town hall meetings is done, professional body, hear your view, and we will reach what the landing cost is. Landing cost as at then was 161. That means, what subsidy simply means is that our citizen cannot pay money for fuel. So we are telling the people selling fuel, sell to our citizen. Government will give you the remaining. So if the actual cost for fuel is 500 naira, because we are so concerned about our citizen, let our citizen pay 200 naira. And we are going to pay the 300 difference. And that's why the price is 200 naira at pump price. And when you come back to, what's it called now, to the company, you go and verify your vessel and the rest, your loading, and you get the difference. I can understand the citizen because we live in a system where value is not given. Trust market is dead here in Nigeria. And the citizen cannot trust government. The problem actually wasn't that they want to remove subsidy. The problem is the citizen cannot trust government that when you remove the subsidy, the 1.4 trillion annually will translate into infrastructural development. The problem actually is that there are part of us citizens that benefit from the scam of subsidy. We flooded Ojota. I remember at that point some people called me and said that you are not here, you are not passionate enough about Nigeria, you keep talking about this nation, but you are not here. Let's show. And I asked them, I said, I won't be there. Because half of the people there, why are they there? A couple of them don't know. Subsidy passed through your table. Corruption passed through your table. You didn't stop it. It's Ojota you want to come and stop it. We're privy to some information that there are many oil dealers that brings empty vessel, and there is a civil servant that approved that this vessel is loaded and gets subsidy for that. And that's what will lead to scarcity. And that's why you'll find the NNPC boss coming to say, we have enough oil, going by figures in paper that they have approved there's oil. And the citizen will face scarcity. You didn't stop it on your table, you came to Ojota to stop it. It doesn't make sense. That's why I said we need to step it up and change our approach. What approach are we saying here? Number one, let's change the approach by which we bring in people into government. It's no longer party, and I like the way it is. You find somebody now, it started last election and it's growing bigger. I believe this election will see much of that, where somebody will be voted from this party as a president, another person, people will massively support him as a governor. You know why? So we are no longer looking at party, we are looking at personalities. We are now looking at people that can deliver. We're now looking at people that have manifestos we can question. That becomes the yardstick we follow up. The second thing we need to change is what is our parameter of measuring your growth. Let me continue with the case study of Goodluck Jonathan. I would have expected at that time that professionals at the town hall meeting when it was called, let's have that town hall meeting and say, yes, we are ready to take this subsidy, but let's make it gradual. I was expecting for us to say that we will have a monthly town hall meeting, quarterly town hall meeting. Let's place a checkmate parameter, whereby we can now say that this is the amount you pay year on year. This is the amount you pay last year, or last quarter, or first quarter, second quarter, or monthly you spent on subsidy. Let's keep subsidy rate at that amount, but let's now say this money is going into infrastructural development. What is our focus for the infrastructural development in Q1? How do we spend this money across the nation within Q1? Those should have been our argument. So now we are giving the government a benefit of doubt that this time they will do it right. At the same time, we are showing them that this is the yardstick to know early if you are doing it right or not. So that we'll not have to wait 4 years before we say we even think you will do it right. We are not doing well. There should be a measure yardstick, and that's how I feel. If the professionals will be involved, all of us will be involved, we need to be involved at this level. That's the essence of pressure group. Pressure group is not the same as opposition. But we don't have to be opposition all of the time. We don't have to be opposition to the government in power. There are some people, I know somebody, when it was PDP, he was opposition APC. When APC came into office, he has moved to PDP because he just liked to be opposed. And I said, look, there's a difference between opposition and pressure group. What I think the professionals and citizens should focus more is how can we be a viable pressure group that question governance based on their manifesto. It means we need to bring people in based on what they say and hold them accountable.
Yeah, I'll be talking with Mr. Sijuade Balogun. He's the senior consultant at Pirates Consulting. He's a specialist in SMEs and most especially how government policies affect the market and the everyday transactions of our citizens. Mr. Balogun, we are gradually winding down, but I want to stick it clearly here that the choice we make now will determine what will happen to Nigeria in the next 4 years.
Obviously, our choice determines our next 8 years, not just 4.
Where would you want Nigerian economy to head?
Okay, personally, I would say this, that
considering the rate of inflation right now, the exchange rate, the NPR just announced by CBN.
Yes, recently.
So, where do you think we should be heading?
I must be sincere, it's a state that we must be careful about now in Nigeria. Just last year, whilst we were closing last year, IMF reports the situation of Ghana. It's not smiling. Ghana cannot borrow because of their current state of economy. Nigeria, we are already treading that path if care is not taken. I was shocked. Normally when we do projectional plan, it is always a 1-digit inflation rate. In the last couple of years, our inflation rate have not just been 2 digits and go back. It has sat down comfortably at 2 digits. For an inflation rate hitting 15, 17 points, you should know that there's issue calling. So this is the point where Nigeria must be careful about our decision in government. Like I said, this is the coronation there. The person we put in government will determine for us the policies we will get. The policies we will get will affect our business. How our business is affected will determine how our business is affected will determine the survival of our economy. Now, if you look at it this way, this is the time we must set it right in asking critical questions, in getting involved in governance, in asking questions that matter. I was in Benin Republic for a training at a time. I went with a team, and it was amazing to them that till we left that town, the light didn't blink. Did they pay for it? Yes, but nobody is complaining because it's available. They can do their business and can state that this is how much I'm spending on power. They know it is there. An average person in Nigeria can't state, this is how much I'll spend to power my business. When diesel came in, all business using diesel have to put it back on the citizen, the end user. So we must take a decision at this point, because this decision will determine our economy for the next 4 years and beyond. And of course, what happens in 4 years, it's just like you hit me and hammer on the head. It's going to get healed within a period of time. A perfect example, I had an accident at a time. That was when I had this cut. It healed after a period of time, but the scar is still here waiting. So we must know that it's not just about the next 4 years. It's about what will be the effect of the scar on us. Sentimentally, if you permit me on your show to say that our people is not happy with this administration. But fundamentally, this administration have also done some things right. So we must make sure our judgment is no longer on sentiment, is on basic fact, is on reality. I deal with people based on reality, not based on the book said. When what we do over time is policies based on book, not policies based on reality. I was watching the news recently, and it's been a debate now. By next week Wednesday, just few days from now, our hold notes will no longer become legal tender. And the question I keep asking is, CBN said they are not extending because they had gone through the banks, and all the banks now have new notes. They had a policy that banks should give new notes. It's a policy made. Mm-hmm. What are we doing to ensure that the policy is executed? The same CBN saying ATMs have. I used ATM. It was giving me the old note. As at today that we're speaking. Somebody needed to give money. I needed to do a withdrawal. It was what? Old note. You see, that policy was correct or not is not my own take to say. But what is important is the execution, I can boldly say, is faulty. And the faulty nature of this execution, look at what it has done to us. It has brought us to a point that people are now skeptical to have money. The positive side, I must be sincere. CBN government have come out and said over 1 trillion has come back to the bank since this policy was set. Lovely. But if 1 trillion had come back into the banking, what have we achieved with it? What do we intend to achieve with it? What will we lose in return? I'll give you an example of people already losing. Last week I was to do a withdrawal. Because the time is short, we're just like 10 days away, thereabout. Was it last week? Sorry. This same week I was to do a withdrawal early this week. And I had to ask the guy, do you have old notes or new notes? He said, bros, next week go hard with that too. And the POS guy in Abuja, I watch the news, the POS guy in every state are saying the same thing. People are no longer withdrawing. Even me now, when I want to withdraw, you have to calculate how much do I need. I need 3,000. Withdraw 4,000 or 5,000. Now, that looks like safety measure for me, the citizen, but that is bad business for the POS guy. The POS guy told me that he had withdrew 200,000 that day from 3 different banks. That only one bank that withdrew 100,000 gave him 15,000 as new note. The rest he has with him out of 200,000 is hold note. How will the guy continue with business? How will the guy survive? So we must know that going to the poll at 2023 is not about sentiment. It's about my business will be affected, my family life will be affected. I need to take a decision and I need to be part of it. Even it's not about the election. After the election, I need to be part of the pressure group that asks questions based on policies.
Mr. Balogun, thank you so much for your presence and your incisive discussion.
It's been my pleasure.
For your final word, face the camera and talk to Nigeria. Just a minute.
All right, Nigerians, I want to say that I want to congratulate us as one of the most rugged set of people in the world existing. You know how we survive all of this, I don't understand, but we do. And that shows the die-hard spirit in us. Howbeit, We might not need to struggle continuously like this if we plan and strategize a little better. It is the time we get involved in governance. Governance is not about election, it's about a process. It's time for us to look for pressure groups and not opposition. It's time for us to look at policies, question policies, and see how these policies will make us. It's time for us to also reach par with government. It's time when the government says that they want to remove subsidy, let's ask them what are they bringing in place of subsidy. Let's be realistic in our approach. Don't let us just fight anything because it looks not reasonable. Let's ask questions. Let's hold people by their word and let's show them that their word have failed us. With that, I believe that we can make this nation work. The truth remains, economy is at the mercy of the policies made by the governor. So, we must be part of it.
Economy is at the mercy of the policies made by government. That is on stone. Thank you so much, Mr. Sijuade.
My pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me.
This is CEM Discuss. Until we meet you again, follow our discussions on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Log into our page, Continental Economy Magazine, on your Google, and it will pop up. Follow us on follow our news, follow our opinions, follow our analysis. Till we meet again. Thank you.